Vincimus Prime here, back again with another video. Today I'm going to be going over my preferred action figure lineup to set up my Justice League. So again, this is my own opinion. These are the figures that I have in my own personal collection that I use as my representative Justice League for my setup. Alright, for the Man of Steel, I am using the Page Puncher Superman. This was released a couple of years ago. The colors on this particular figure are a little muted. That was the style for this particular line of Page Punchers. The head sculpt, I think, is a little bit different from what you consider as your traditional Superman, but I think this figure does look absolutely fantastic. Really good body proportions. The hands aren't super monstrous. Actually, no, the closed fists are pretty big for the body buck. But this figure, what I love about this one is extremely posable. It doesn't tower over the rest of the figures. It looks like it could fit in with scale, and it can get into some really incredible flying poses. I mean, the hunchback along with the head articulation on this looks great. You can easily get this Page Puncher Superman into a fantastic flying pose and combine that with a stand. I usually have my Superman in a flying pose as if he's flying into the action. Just looks really great. You can almost get him like coming out of camera and in camera. So for my Superman in my Justice League, can't go wrong with the Page Puncher Superman. The Wonder Woman I have in my Justice League lineup is the Wonder Woman as designed by Todd McFarlane. This is not a popular figure from what I understand, and some of my accessories, for example the sword did get bent in the package. I need to get this under a hair dryer to get this try to straighten out. I do have the Classics Wonder Woman, but right now that one is actually part of my Trinity display. So I felt this one had the right armor, the right weapons, the shield that would really round out what I would want as my standard Wonder Woman for my Justice League lineup. Batman, I am going with the blue and gray Nightfall variant as my Batman representation of my Justice League. It was honestly between this or Hush. The problem with a lot of McFarlane figures, including this one, is scaling. So I have the Hush figure as my representation for my Batman and my Bat Family display, because that figure scales really well with Nightwing, with Robin, with Batgirl, Red Hood, and a lot of the other figures that make up my Bat Family. Nightfall is just a little too short for that, but then the Hush body is just way too tall and towers over some of my other figures in the Justice League lineup, such as Superman, Wonder Woman, etc., etc. So Nightfall really fits into your Justice League. I think this would be a great figure to have as your Batman representation into a Justice League lineup. Relatively new addition is the brand new Mr. Terrific. I have this figure in my lineup as well. I did luck out through the McFarlane EQL process and got the Platinum Edition, which has the more traditional black T-face paint. One thing I hope we see more and more from the McFarlane figures, the use of these different face plates. If we're not going to include different face portraits, then the swappable faceplates are awesome. The leather coat is a fantastic accessory. The swappable hands with the T-Spear, the floating dual T-Spear, and the addition of the T-Spear shield makes this really great value. Again, it's on that traditional Blue Beetle body buck, so if you're familiar with that, you know what articulation you're going to get. Obviously, the criticisms with that body buck are still in point. For example, these molded boots for his costume you wish that obviously if there's going to be reuse, that there would be just that additional point to make those molding changes. And obviously we don't have the fair play on the sleeves for Mr. Terrific. I'm hoping that since he is going to be in the James Gunn Superman movie coming out this summer, that we will see a movie version of this figure. Probably will be some reuse, but we'll have the fair play on it as well. But love this figure, happy to have it as part of my Justice League. Alright, so when we're talking about Justice League lineups, the Aquaman Endless Winter variant here is what got my vote for my Aquaman. It has a bit more of an older look compared to the digital version that came out. I love the longer beard, the longer hair. The detailing on the suit is fantastic. You can actually see and feel the scales in regards to the sculpting of the costume. The trident, sometimes you see with a lot of McFarlane accessories, the plastic will get warped. This one came out of the box pretty straight, and I think this just has a fantastic look. Definitely will recommend the Endless Winter Aquaman for your Justice League lineup. For Green Lantern, I am using the Hal Jordan from the Dawnbreaker 2-pack as my representative Green Lantern in my Justice League lineup. I do have the classic Hal Jordan that is currently sitting in my Green Lantern lineup, the Green Lantern collection. This is an older body buck. The detailing on this suit is typical McFarlane, a lot of lines, a lot of panels, but I do like the more serious expression on this particular Hal Jordan variant versus the classic version. Just for the Justice League lineup, this looks a little bit more serious. Obviously, if the Justice League is together, they're tackling a heavy hitter in regards to a villain, so I felt that this version of Hal is a bit more appropriate for my Justice League lineup. Here we have John Johns, the Martian Manhunter. There's not a lot of options with McFarlane yet still with the Martian Manhunter, and frankly, for what this character is supposed to look like in regards to size, he is a little undersized, but I think the black looks great. I do prefer this look over the more classic look. Wish this figure had came out when we were getting the wired bendy capes. Not a huge fan of the pre-posed plastic capes, but you know, that's personal preference. I do think this figure looks great. Wish it would have had maybe, again, an alternate head sculpt, maybe a couple more hands in the package. But I think to round out your Justice League, you're looking for a Martian Manhunter. Not a lot of options, but you really can't go wrong with this unless you're going to look for some of the older lines such as DC Essentials or DC Icons, Collectibles, etc., etc. Green Arrow, I am using the classic Longbow Hunter version from McFarlane Digital. Honestly, this is the one that I like the look of the most. Probably the thing I would say I was mostly disappointed by is just the accessories. Having the quiver with the pre-posed stack of arrows is great. Having the one loose arrow is great. What really bugs me about this figure is the longbow itself did not include even a plastic molded string. It just a drawstring. It just looks awkward. So on this one, I might end up looking for an upgrade, either looking for someone that has done something similar to like mod this one, or just acquire a better made one. But this is what I have for my Green Arrow. I do like the look of it. Hoping that we will get a more modernized version of Green Arrow. There are rumors that we're finally getting a Black Canary, which will be going into my Justice League if this happens to be true. Hoping that maybe we'll get a more modernized Green Arrow as well to really combine those two going together. This is the Flash I'm using. Great figure. No real major issues with this one. Would have loved to see a more traditional head sculpt. This is the Wally West version of the Flash. Does have the white pupilless eyes, crazy grinning expression. Would have loved to see also a couple of alternate fists maybe on this one, but still pretty overall pretty satisfied. You can get him into some excellent running poses on this. So this is my representation of the Flash for my Justice League. Some of the other Barry Allen specific figures are pretty hard to come by. So when I saw this one on the secondary market, I did pick this up from someone on Whatnot. Great experience there, by the way, with that particular seller. Was able to at least get my more traditional comic book version of the Flash versus some of the other McFarlane alternatives that are available, such as Page Punchers or from Injustice. So happy to have it. Definitely looks a more comic ready addition to my Justice League. And then we have Cyborg. Now, not a lot of options for Cyborg. You either have this one, which was the single card release, or you had to do the Teen Titans Build-A-Wave. Very oversized depending on your preference. You may like that, you may not like that, but also really hard to come by. So when I saw this figure get released and announced, it was a no-brainer for me that I wanted to pick this one up. I think it's great, especially now that Cyborg was in the Justice League movie, getting a lot of attention, now seen in the current continuity as a founding member, both the Justice League and you have him in Titans. I think it's great that the character is just getting a lot more attention. Obviously, this would have been great as its own original sculpt versus a resculpt of an older Batman figure, but it's McFarlane, they're going to reuse what they can reuse, but the head sculpt on this one's fantastic, and it looks really great as part of your Justice League.
And there you go. That is a look of my Justice League. Just doing a pan now to show how I have everyone set up, and I do have Superman and Martian Manhunter set up on these flight stands. Really love these flight stands, by the way. Allows you to get them in a wide range of poses for flying or other action scenes. But obviously, as we get more coming out, this is going to be filling up. Seeing rumors of Zatanna, Black Canary coming out, so those will be added to my Justice League. In addition to Shazam, when I get him in hand, he'll be coming up here as well. So thank you for watching this video. Again, this is Vincimus Prime. Watch out for the next video, and signing off.